Respected Chairman Professor R.C. Singha and distinguished participants, I will just read out my paper and I hope you'll be able to follow my English since we all come from different backgrounds, speaking the same English language, but we find difficult to follow many a times. At the outset, it may appear very strange and odd to say that academic discipline, like other living organisms, grow, multiply, and give rise to other disciplines, and then ultimately die. Oh, well, the title of my paper, as our distinguished person has said, it's about economics versus philosophy of economics. So the main idea is how, with the economics, the commerce, management, and other things are multiplying, thereby in the process, how our so-called holistic way of life are disrupted. And our life has been, in a way, distorted even, not even disrupted, but distorted. So that is the main theme in which the trajectory of my paper is. Historically speaking, this had happened throughout almost all disciplines. Historically, economics as an academic discipline grew and developed by Adam Smith, who was teaching moral philosophy. He introduced the subject of economics to the first-year students in college and propounded that human wants are unlimited. So I'm going to make a very critical analysis of this. A particular want may be satisfied, but human wants are such that they cannot be satisfied completely. I wish to suggest in this connection that though Adam Smith was teaching moral philosophy, he forgot to elaborate that there were human beings in societies who wanted to eliminate almost all wants, particularly the Indian tradition. In due course of time, economics gave rise to discipline like commerce. For various reasons, economics and commerce invented a new discipline such as management, which is parasitic and economics and commerce. Parasitic on economics and commerce. At present, the subject of management is very popular, that even after doing degrees in various engineering or medical disciplines, one goes to management. Today, this trend is very popular. That is how management has become almost all pervasive. New expressions such as hotel management, tourism management, business management, and classroom management, etc., are on the increase. So is it in the right direction or not? This is what I wish to analyze. It is the selection committee of Nobel Prize which selected a Nobel Prize for economics. It may be noted here that Alfred Bernard Nobel, the founder of Nobel Prize, did not visualize giving award in economics in the beginning. It is only the later committee some years back instituted Nobel Prize for economics. It is important to mention in this connection that Professor Richard H. Thaler, who has been selected for Nobel Prize in economics, that is, economics cannot be detached from psychology. In other words, psychology or mental makeup of human being cannot be separated from economic behavior. This is not to belittle the importance of economics, commerce, and management, including the award of Nobel Prize in economics. but to point the important thing for human civilization that saints and seers like Mahavir or Buddha, Socrates or Jesus or Confucius or Lao Tzu or Mo Tzu went to the extent of saying that by reducing human wants, human beings will be happy, just the opposite. On the one hand, if we do not multiply our wants, production and industry will not grow, particularly the present trend of industrialization the world over, particularly the developing and the advanced industrialized countries. On the other, we all know the effects of large-scale production throughout the world. It may be noted in this connection that industrial revolution started in Western Europe, particularly in Great Britain, that ultimately gave rise to colonization of Africa and Asia. Columbus discovered sea route to America, but as a matter of fact, Columbus was sent to discover sea route to India, India being well known at that point of time, so that European traders could do their commerce and trade through this sea route for the simple reason that the Arab merchants were carrying trade and commerce with India on land route. Therefore, the Arab merchant did not allow the European merchant to make use of land route to India. It may be said in this connection that growth and development of science and technology gave rise to industrialization, and industrialization in its turn gave rise to subjugation of some people, the logical connection. Economic development gave rise to widespread monetization. Macroeconomic gave rise to quick monetization, and monetization in its turn gave rise to pauperization. This may not be palatable to the economic. Economics as a discipline cannot thrive and flourish without monetization and large-scale consumption. Economics as a discipline, academic discipline, in a great way gave rise to consumption. The logic is produce more, consume more, so that profit is more, are the watchwords of economic as a discipline. On the other hand, opposite side is that there are some scholar saints and seers who lay emphasis on the motto, consume only that much, which can keep the body and mind together healthily, not poorly. In the contemporary period, Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Vinoba Bhave, and Jai Prakash Narayan are examples, just to name a few. In this connection, I wish to point out production should not aim at primarily on large-scale production and consumption, but for the purpose of sufficient and equitable just distribution. Profit should not be the main motive and the driving force for economic production. It will be befitting in this connection to cite a recent example in which Supreme Court of India issued an order banning bursting of crackers in the last Diwali in order to check air pollution in and around Delhi. To this ban, some businessmen raised hue and cry, saying that their business will go down radically, and that in turn is likely to have very serious damaging effect on Indian economy. Production and sale of fast food and junk food throughout the world is a case in point that businessmen want mainly profit. What may happen to the consumer is not their primary concern. Profit making is the sole motive and guiding factor of economy. I wish to suggest in this connection that the time has come that renowned economists should protest against profit and consumption-centric production, which is of course a very difficult thing. Recently, there was hue and cry in some Indian newspaper that Chinese products started dominating Indian market. I wish to point out that whether China, USA, India, or for that matter any country today is not free from consumerist culture. The motto is to reiterate, produce more and sell more throughout the world if possible so that profit is more. This is the trend of the world today. I wish to suggest in this connection that profit-centric production should give way to distribution-centric production, of course, which is an extremely difficult task. In other words, consumption-centric production should give way to distribution-centric production. Economics and economic principle should be saturated with moral principle. Of course, that is not what even the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, which is making the slogan, Make in India, is antithetical to this motto which I'm trying to highlight. Philosophy of economics raises this problem. This is not to highlight the importance of philosophy over economics, commerce, and management, but to point out the naked truth that unless consumption is controlled and guided for the ultimate welfare of all human beings, no amount of positive legislation can remove poverty and misery from the world. And this is what we notice even in the so-called advanced countries, except Northern European countries. Scientific discovery and innovation have created wonders, no doubt, but it has, in another side, given rise to miserable poverty and deprivation. The example of distribution of river water in India is a case in point. Let us take the example from Indian context. Great rivers like Ganga, Yamuna, Brahmaputra, Mahanadi, Kaveri, and many other rivers flow in Indian soil. In rainy season, some parts of India get submerged. Heavy flood and widespread inundation create havoc and unending suffering to the people. But despite the abundance and even overabundance of river water, different states of India keep on quarreling and fighting over the distribution of water. The concrete case is the quarrel among Andhra Pradesh, Orissa, Tamil Nadu, and their adjoining states relating to the distribution of river water. People thought the growth and development of science and technology will solve most of the problem, but as a matter of fact, growth and development of science and technology have also multiplied problem. And to this, many people have not given serious thoughts. We all know that USA dropped atom bomb and the effects were so much devastation and suffering caused to the people, and Chernobyl incident in Russia, nuclear radiation in Japan, and many other devastating incidents which humanity has not forgotten. This is not to say and suggest that scientific discovery and invention are useless per se, not at all. This is to suggest that people and politicians with science and technology have created havoc in the world. Sometimes we think that it is perhaps better to go back to nature than to have science and technology. And Gandhi is one of such people. It is for this reason that some scholars and thinkers are of the opinion that applied part of science should be restricted only to that much which will be good for human beings. Air and water pollution are the resultant effects of mindless and directionless, too much application of science and technology, particularly even in the Indian context. The use of science and technology by industrialists, producers, and managers do not maintain balance between production and morality. in order to suggest and say that large-scale production gave rise to widespread consumption, and this is the root of all evils. Philosophy of economics is a moral evaluation of the so-called economic theories and their principles. Perhaps time has come for humans to remind themselves for the great moral principles to put into practice enunciated by great people like Gautama Buddha, Socrates, Lao Tzu, and etc. We have already hints and suggestions that disciplines grow, develop, multiply, and sometimes die out and give rise to new discipline. Let us take the example of the discipline of geography. Literally, the meaning of geography is the study of the earth. Geology and oceanography are distinct disciplines. The geographer developed the ideas of political geography, geography of population, and social geography, and so on. But geography as a discipline, in order to survive somehow or other, started borrowing aspects of other disciplines because it provides survival means for some people. Take another example of academic discipline of sociology in India. Department of Applied Economics was opened, but after some years, it was named as Rural Economy. Further, after some years, the department was renamed as Sociology. As academic, we need to have a very critical evaluation and re-evaluation of all this. Otherwise, our students are blindly following them. Later on, the economics department was renamed as Industrial Management. This is not to caricature some department, but to point out that the survival instinct in human being motivates to develop a particular new discipline. We are not denigrating and belittling the application and importance of sophisticated calculation on economic problem. It is a fact that there is profuse use of mathematics and mathematical model in study of economics. Ordinary student who has very little knowledge of mathematical model find extremely difficult today to understand the so-called academic economy. I wish to point out that perhaps there is no need of sophisticated mathematical model in understanding the economic problem. The central point of economic is distribution and not profit making. I emphasize on this. Today, throughout the world, profit-centric economic has created insoluble problem. As this ideology driven by the intention of how to increase production and make huge profit, it is perhaps the biggest problem before economic to seriously consider. Naturally, ethical consideration does not find a place in economic analysis. Today, throughout almost all countries spend a big portion of national income or their gross domestic product on defense. We are suspicious and afraid of our own neighbor. Consequently, each state is compelled to spend a huge amount of income on defense. Human being has yet to learn a lesson from the two world wars. We must learn the lesson of how to live peacefully together. And this is how this center is very relevant, holistic science. The biblical message that all human beings are sisters and brothers should be put into practice. I wish to make a small amendment in this connection. It is this: not only all human beings, but all animals and plants are brothers and sisters. And similarly, even the Hindu philosophy, Vaisudeva Kutumbakam, similar to the Christian version, all people are brothers and creations of sisters of God. We should learn the technique of living together so that Mother Earth, after millions of years of evolution, should not cease to be there. Therefore, I reiterate that human beings must learn the lesson of living together, not only with other animals, but with plant kingdom as well. Today, atmosphere is severely polluted, particularly in the third world countries, and it had happened even in Delhi. More than a week, the school colleges were closed. Rivers are contaminated. Animal species are going to be extinct soon. The wrong application of science and technology has created havoc in the world. But this is not to belittle the importance of science and technology, as I said earlier, but to simply point out the wrong application of science and technology, which will destroy human beings. The philosopher Bertrand Russell went to the extent of saying, or gave cautionary note, that human beings must learn how to live together so that civilization that humans have created do not get destroyed. In this connection, academic discipline have to play major roles in economic analysis as an intellectual exercise which may sharpen our intellect to understand human problem. But economics should not be saturated. Rather, it should be saturated with morality and moral principle. This is the wisdom of great thinkers, saints, moralists, whether east or west. In other words, economics has to be a kind of philosophy of economy. We cannot simply allow just economic as economic, but philosophy of economy has to play a role. This is not to highlight the importance of philosophy, as most of us are philosophers or students of philosophy. Philosophy as a discipline, but to point out the naked truth that without moral principles, society is likely to go astray. But this is equally true that majority of us who teach philosophy, particularly moral philosophy, has nothing to do with the practice of morality in daily life. That is the unfortunate part. Such teachers of ethics do not hesitate to lead immoral life for personal gain. This is a paradoxical situation for those who lead immoral life, how to save the situation. I wish to suggest in this connection that philosophical analysis of important moral value concept is very necessary.
Hopefully this is the last page.
Right, last page. Right. Thank you for reminding. It is a must while teaching and preaching moral philosophy. One should not forget the maxim that morality begins with moral philosophy, just as charity begins at home. This kind of paradoxical situation we come across in academic world. It is not rare to find out those scholars who teach and write against untouchability, practice and untouchability in their life. It is necessary to refer to Baba Saheb B.R. Ambedkar, the great social reformer, in this context, that it was his conviction that had led him to embrace Buddhism, which may go a little against your presentation, and ask million others to embrace Buddhism. Caste system is in due course of time might have created havoc in Indian society. I wish to point out that scholars should be activists. Scholarship without some kind of activism is dead wood. I'm sorry if this example. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Xavier Maro. We enjoyed hearing all the varied aspects of your papers, and I learned so many things
Thank you.
personally. Thank you so much.